You're on.
Funny, I go in and I get my hair cut off because.
Just remember to speak clearly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. You want me to give you my background, or do you want me just to go into the?
Similar issues with Joseph A. Bank and stop playing.
I mean, basic presentation style.
And
Say
then
your
they're
name
part of
and.
Men's Warehouse.
Yeah.
Yes, are you ready?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know he was, I thought he was still fixing his coiffure and his jacket.
It's on. It's all you.
My name is Todd Brewster. I'm with Media Buying Decisions. I'm going to explain today what to do as far as when you're doing a media buy. My background, when you're looking for a good media buyer, what you need to do is you need to have someone with education, training, and experience. My education is mathematics. Buying media is mainly mathematics. So you need to have someone that can analyze invoices, contracts, and make proposals, and then make adjustments along the way. My training was at J. Walter Thompson, which is the Harvard ad agencies, and DDB Needham, which is one of the largest ad agencies. My experience has been for over 30 years. I started Media Buying Decisions, making media buys across the country. I've bought almost every market throughout the United States, just about every medium. The other day I was racing down the tollway and I saw a billboard across 5 lanes. Yet it got my attention because it was blocked by trees. When I got up on it, it said La Madeleine and had a bunch of extra copy. It got my attention because I was wondering who would be so stupid to buy this board and have so much copy that even a speed reader could not read it. I mean, advertising works because I did see the billboard, but using an experienced media buyer improves your odds for getting a better return on investment. The biggest mistake clients make in billboard advertising is making the billboard too cluttered. The buyer compounded the mistake by not viewing the board and seeing the obstacle. I had a client that wanted to buy a board in DC to reach people in a bureaucratic government job office in DC. I looked at options and saw he had a long message. I bought a huge board at the subway stop nearest the government office. Most of the people going to that office took the subway. They noticed the board, and when they had time, they were able to read the whole board. The campaign was a rousing success, and local TV and radio stations had news specials actually commenting on the board. Now, a mistake most buying radio make is not understanding their target audience. The most blatant case was when I called on a used car lot. Walking through, I saw some minorities looking around, but we went into the owner's office and he said he just bought a radio station, K-Love. We spent a few minutes analyzing his target audience, which was 55% black, 35% Hispanic, and 10% white. I asked why K-Love? And he said that's the station he listens to, and his wife, and even checked with friends. And they all seemed to think K-Love was the best choice. The problem is, K-Love at the time was about 95% of its audience was white. I said I have a better station for him, but he said he contracted through the end of the year. I said I can get him out of the contract. But, again, he thought he knew better. I called him the 1st of December and said my research is the perfect radio station for him for reaching his target audience. He said, forget about it. He tried radio advertising and it just doesn't work. This is a problem that reps that sell their station instead of the station that is right for the client. My forte is figuring out who the target audience is and then making adjustments along the way. The owner did market research, which is a great idea, but his sample audience was wrong. If you're definitely going to advertise and spend good money, it'd be prudent to use an experienced market research expert. My secret weapon is for a larger campaign, I use my friend Dick Buck. Dick not only does market research, but that helps pinpoint the target audience. But what he also does is that he gets the correct messaging to that target audience. Advertising is all about improving your odds. And when advertising, Dick is there to help you maximize your advertising return on investment. His work is vital for anyone who's going to be doing bigger campaigns. About 20 years ago, I saw signs that internet advertising would soon swoop in and dominate. Ad agencies pride themselves on being avant-garde. Billboard advertising is really out-of-home advertising, and that encompasses many different media. The same is true with internet advertising, which encompasses many things like social media, digital marketing, and email marketing. It's important to have someone like Jenna Apgard who keeps up with the latest technology regarding internet advertising. Lately, ad agencies are seeing their clients are getting better results when they integrate internet advertising with traditional advertising. Well, the really good news is the economy is back and small businesses are growing again, and they see the need to advertise. The internet gets better results when used with TV, radio, billboards, and cable advertising. But it hurts me because it enables business owners to go direct to negotiate the media buys. This urge to do it themselves hurts the odds of making their advertising successful and getting a better return on investment. Technology is forever changing, but the better the understanding of marketing and advertising, the greater the return on your advertising investment. Now, here, someone here, please name a very large market, a mid-sized market, and a small market. Let's say New York City. And on the other side, Denver. And let's pick a Texas market, I don't know, Waco. Now, a media buyer has a book showing them this TV station's entity market and the size of the market that they're buying. Today, what people can do, owners can do, is they can check out the internet for this TV stations in each market and the size, and they can go online, fill out a form, and ask each station to fill out a proposal for spending X amount of money. Like in New York City, that's pretty easy. You got WABC, you got WNBC, you got WCBS. Being raised in Eastern Long Island, I also know they have WR, WPIX, and Metro Media, Channel 5, whatever that is now. Metro Media, I don't know, it's now changed. I think that's now the Fox station, Channel 5. So you know you have 6, and sometimes the internet doesn't have down all 6, you have to go hunting for them. But in that case, I happen to know that. Denver and Waco, you need to go in and find out what they are. So after you fill out the forms, a rep will call you and find out the details of who you're trying to reach and send you programming. They'll send you dates and times. They will, and the rates, not the current rates, but the rates for the time period in which you're buying, because rates do change throughout the year. Now, people go ahead and, they go ahead and they say, what is your budget going to be? Well, if you have $2,000 a month, that's a lot of money, right? And if you call up any of these stations, they're all going to be saying, oh yeah, we can do this. This is how we do things like that. But be honest with you, if I go ahead and I talk to you and I find out more of your objectives, I may dissuade you from using New York City, because $2,000 just doesn't go that far. Now, the reps all have examples where, oh yeah, somebody came in and they had $1,000 and it worked and blah, 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 blah. There are exceptions to the rule. And that's why I'll need to do research on that. But most of the time, you're throwing your money out the window. But the reps won't tell you that. So, what I may do is say, hey, you want to get something in New York, you want to try something. Well, what's around it? Philadelphia, that's going to be too expensive. Boston, that's too expensive. But hey, there's Albany, New York. And you may want to go ahead and spend your money and market that way. And you can say, okay, I reach the people in the Northeast part of the country. And then the station will send you rates, and they'll be 1,800, 1,000, and 225. And you look at that, and okay, you know, those are rates, and you gotta kind of like decide, and so you negotiate them down, like, okay, I'm gonna go from 1,800 down to 900. I'm gonna go from $1,000 down to 600. I'm gonna go from 225 down to 200. Now, just by eyeballing that, what's the best rate to buy? The answer is very obvious. I don't know. You need more information. Now, you know, you can go in and you can research the programming, the dates and the times, and you can figure out the day parts. And these are things that are all clues to give to an experienced buyer, but it doesn't mean much. What if they gave then numbers? You're looking for the ratings. And they show 150, 2.5, and 40. Well, let's even say 40 and then 2.5. You look at that and you say, gee, you know, it's a $6 cost per thousand there. What happens is in a larger market, the lower the cost per thousand will be. If you go to a smaller market, it's going to be a higher cost per thousand. Then 40, that's going to be $15 is the cost per thousand. And then on a rating point, that's what, about 137.50, I think. I don't know. I don't have a calculator. Is the cost, but that's a cost per point. So all the stations, what they do is that they're going to go ahead. They're going to send you what is best for their station. So when you go ahead and you tell them whatever your demo is, let's say your demo is women 18 to 49. The rep at this station says, well, gee, our station doesn't really meet that well of a demo. So I'm going to say, hey, you know, your demo is, who do you sell to? Anybody, right? It's adults 18 plus. So that's the point there. And then this person actually says, well, we do well with women 18 to 49. I'm going to do that. And this one too is probably women 18 to 49. But it's a cost per point. So what's the difference between a cost per point and a cost per thousand? A cost per point means that you're getting 2.5% of the demo, in this case, women 18 to 49, in that market. So when you buy with the larger thing, you're trying to buy 100 rating points, which is way too much money, because if you go ahead and you know, that means buying 40 of these pretty much per market. That means like in Waco, you spend $8,000. Most people don't go into Waco and spend $8,000. They spend more like $2,000. And that's a good budget there. In Denver, it could be $24,000. In New York City, that's $36,000 a month. So you really need a lot of money. And this is how buyers at a large agency buy, because that's what they look at from that standpoint. But the big kicker too is on a cost per point. That has to do with the metro area. Now the metro area may be, for in Dallas, will be Dallas County, Tarrant County, and then about 4 or 5 surrounding counties. When you buy in thousands, that's off of dominant major area. So that would be wherever the station has signal. Now, take Dallas for example, again in Waco, there are some counties in between that get both stations. They go with the county that has the biggest representation, so it would be, in most cases, counties just north of Waco, even though they get some Dallas stations, they'll be going off of the Dallas market. But these are things that you need to be buying depending on, you know, if the guy just has one store and he just wants to get the metro area, you take that into consideration as opposed to somebody that may have 5 stores, or they may be doing an internet buying type of business. So, again, hiring a media buyer will go ahead, and it's their fiduciary responsibility, isn't to the stations, it's to the client. So they will go ahead and they will get a demo that is consistent for all the stations. And this is very important because, again, when you're buying, everybody thinks it's all numbers. Well, it is numbers, but you have to have consistent numbers in order to evaluate which is the best buy. So from there, looking at that and knowing the different factors, you can figure out which programming you should be buying. And it's not a guessing game, it's more of a using facts and figures to get the best odds. That's not saying that you can buy any of these stations, because it goes back to the billboard example. Buy any station, you're still going to get results. A good media buyer improves your odds, and that's what's so important. So, let's see, let me go ahead, and I'm trying to read here because I'm not good at speaking off the cuff. So stations will submit also numbers that are actuals, projected, and estimates. All three are fair for them to go ahead and present to you, and they're going to go ahead and again present what is best for them. But when someone goes ahead and they say this is a actual number, what they're saying is that this is the number off of the last book. So if they say there's 150,000, that may be off the last book. 40,000 may be a projection, and 2.5 may be an estimate. Now, an estimate, what happens there is because, let's say that they have a program and that has been influenced, their numbers are not that good, do not project that well out, because the other station ran a special. They had the Super Bowl on. So during the book, the Super Bowl ran, and their numbers went down because everybody was watching the Super Bowl. So that's why it's important to find that information out, because the station that had the Super Bowl, they're going to give you a projection. They're going to give you the actual, where by looking at the estimate, you see that you're able to, again, evaluate the numbers for which is the best way to go on that. The other thing, too, is that when you do a projection, that's figuring out the last book, the share, how much share was watched by each programming. And then you project it onto the upcoming book, because what happens is that when programming, people watch TV at different times during different parts of the season, and therefore the most accurate way to do it is a projection. However, again, if you're going ahead and you're buying, say, you're trying to reach women, and station projects out very well for reaching women in their spring book, and you're buying for the fall, and you say, gee, that's done. Well, you have to also figure out that football is involved, and that's going to affect the numbers. So all these things is little things that if you just buy by the numbers, it's not enough. You have to have that experience to realize how these different factors factor in on the numbers and how they do things. Now, what I did was I made my money with clients who ran 1-800-CALL NOW products and services. Now, these clients, what they do is they attracted the leads within 20 minutes of the spot airing when people called in, and they would assign it to each program, and they figured out the cost per lead. And I was able to get about 40% better because, again, most people did not buy off of numbers, or they did not buy off of a database buy, knowing what type of programming influences different people, and that all comes in together. So, I got it was very lucrative for me because owners were paying on the average, let's say $20 for a lead, and then they got it down to $16 even after my commission, and so I was gold. So they saw my name and it passed along to friends. Today that has changed because they don't have call 1-800. They have go to my website. So people go ahead and they go to the website and then they say, well, how did you hear about it? Oh, I went to your website. They don't like to say, oh, I heard it on TV, I heard it on the radio, all these things, because that all builds for the response. But what they actually came in off of was going to the website. And what happens too is that people go ahead and they go, okay, you know, I've heard this. They may search for it. And they say, okay, I'm searching for this type of store or this type of product or service. They go in, well, you know, search engine optimization, you know, hey, we got you on page 1. Oh yeah, you're there with, you know, 6-10 other people. You know, gee, I'm gonna go with the one I heard of this place. Where'd you hear it from? Did your mother tell you it? Did your best friend tell you it? You know, somehow, you know, you heard about that, and that's gonna pretty much be the website you're gonna go to and you're gonna click on. And if the if the website's good, then you've got a call or a customer coming in. So actually, my biggest success story had to do with my processing and my analytical skills, where a mid-sized ad agency picked up the Hair Club for Men franchise. Their creative and account people were brilliant, and they researched and figured out men 50 plus were losing their hair by far the most. They had a very smart media director who was more of a media planner, and he suggested, hey, let's go ahead and let's get it men 40 to 64. So, but he got frustrated with doing the media buying because media planning and media buying is a little bit different. And what they did was that they brought in an account supervisor from Bozell Jacobs, which is now Timberland McLean. I don't know, it's now, I don't know, changed names so many times, but it was a major ad agency in town. And she did the best they could, and together they worked on it, and they got $100, you know, course per lead. Now, I came in and, you know, again, I worked my magic and I got it down to $80, and I was saying, you know, there's still something not right there. So what I did, why this became my biggest success story, was I saw irregularities in the response. So they had 2 franchise owners coming in, and they were trying to get their business too and show them the creator and all that, and they were thinking about it. But you know, what I did was very natural. I asked them, I said, who's your client? Who's coming in? And one guy said, no, guys in their 20s. Guys in their 20s? Yeah. Joe, what are you getting? Guys in their 20s. Oh, guys in their 20s. Well, you know, I started thinking about that. I'm going, guys in their 20s aren't losing the hair as much as guys over 40. What gives? And then you start thinking about it. Well, guys in their 20s, they start losing the hair. They start thinking, gee, I'm not attracted to women. Guys in their 40s don't care. So I'm starting to get in the mentality of, you know, guys in their 20s, they're watching this, and what are they watching? They're watching, at the time, the big show was Baywatch. They're seeing Pamela Sue Anderson and all these other girls running around in, you know, swimsuits and going, gee, if I had more hair, I could date her. So what I did was I went ahead and I bought the heck out of Baywatch and shows like that. All of a sudden, you know, the cost per lead got down to $40. So it's actually, you know, a funny story, but you know, it's that type of things where you have to look at every detail, and little things like that could be, you know, a big payoff. So again, the key to buying is to find the right target audience, listening to the owners, but then I also do adjustments, you know, based on common sense. And then when leads come in, you got to look at the leads and you got to hone the buy, and you know, to make sure that you're reaching them. And you got to figure out other things like demographics. And the main demographics most buyers buy off of is sex and age. Like I said before, women 18 to 49. Could be adults 50 plus. Hair Club for men. Men, I think we bought 25 to 34. You can go ahead and you can zoom in. Now, having the right, like I said, you know, a lot of people say, well, I want to reach men in the 30s. You call the TV station and you say, I want to reach men in the 30s, and right away they're going to go, oh, okay, this guy's, you know, he doesn't really know media buying. So you have to use the right terminology that the industry uses too. And you know, the major mistake most business owners make is that they don't understand that their product has several brands. And you want to drive traffic to your website, but you also want the demo that's going to make the buy, and the big dollar buy is important. Example for that would be a dentist. They want to bring in women, you know, that have kids, so it should be women 25, 49 should be the demo. But for most dentists, they make their big money on the damage to your teeth. So doing implants, doing bridges, doing things like that, and that's going to again be the older person, the person with money who can afford to say, yeah, you know what, I don't want to live with the pain. I'll pay you, you know, $8,000, $10,000, whatever it costs to get rid of the pain. Now, in buying the demo and figuring out the big demo buy, a perfect example of this had to do with cable. I went in and I met with the general manager of a Huffines Hyundai dealership. And he said, well, he said he'd like to do it, but his owner was good friends with the ad agency, and he said how the owner always brags how their media buyer negotiates the lowest rates. And whenever I hear that phrase, negotiates the lowest rates, I laugh because it's really a crock of bull. But you know, you don't say anything. So the GM did go on to say that he can't influence the radio or TV buys, but he thinks that since the cable buys just affect him up in McKinney, that he can have a say on that. So he gave me a stack of their invoices and contracts and said, hey, see what you can do with them. So I came back and I looked at it over the week, and I realized the media buyer, you know, did a buy that any car dealership would like. He bought several networks with a good number of spots at a low rate. And when you look at the spots, you see the low rates. And so I went back and I showed the GM how the buyer had actually the lowest rate when he bought the network ESPN2. I said ESPN2 is a great station for reaching young men 18 to 34. I explained how according to his contracts, he did pay a rate card rate, but he got the low rate at $5 because he bought Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. It's not a bad strategy at all. However, these spots are only worth about $1 because what happened was that he never checked the invoices. If he looked at the invoices, he would see that over 90% of the spots ran Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You know, most people think bad spots is 3 o'clock in the morning. Monday to Friday, 9 to 3, young men don't watch ESPN2 at that time. You know, it's just that simple. And I also went in and, you know, he knows his products better than I do. But I said, you know what, the biggest buyers of pickup trucks are young men, 18 to 34, and that's why a lot of car dealerships love to buy it. And the other Huffines dealerships should probably buy it. But I said, hey, Hyundai doesn't make a pickup. So these spots are virtually useless to you. Now, again, like I said, I get trained at two of the largest ad agencies, Needham and J. Walter, considered the Harvard of ad agencies. But the ad agencies see media buyers as file clerks. The small ones tell the buyer the demo, they spend the money, amount of dollars for each market, and the buyer does it. He keeps good records of his work in case there's a discrepancy, and pretty much everything is in file. He recalls it very quickly. At the large agency, they get more detailed. They say to buy this amount of GRPs per week using these day part percentiles, you know, 20% early morning, 10% day, whatever, all the way through. And that, by doing it that way, they have reach and frequency goals, which is very important. That, and then they also demand minimum ratings, because if it gets too small, the statistical numbers aren't there enough to make it really verifiable. So it's a very good way of buying things. And they also tell you what controversial programs to avoid. Now, J. Walter gave me great training, but I had to report to my supervisor. And after I learned the formulas and I was able to see what made the large agencies very, very effective. But when they said to me, go out and buy 100 rating points, and I came back with 140 rating points, they came back and they said, no, Todd, buy 100 rating points. Because if I buy 140 rating points, I make the media planner work look bad. At Needham, I was in the field, so I reported my Bud Light buys to the Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. There, the owners are hands-on, and those that were hands-on would ask why I was able to buy more spots than the media buyers that represented Bud, Michelob, Miller Lite, Pabst, Coors, all the other Schlitz. And the answer is easy. I'm competitive, and I'm a mathematician. It's like playing Monopoly. People like to play, and I like to win. When I put together a buy, I negotiate to get the best buy I possibly can, and the wholesalers notice. Today, business owners are realizing that when they combine internet advertising with traditional advertising, they get the best return on the investment. All I do is increase their odds by using me rather than using an ad agency or going direct. TV, radio, billboards, and cable still work today, and they are still affordable. So please consider that whenever you're going ahead and doing your media buys. Have good website, have that down, do your social media, but also if you really want to grow your business, consider TV, radio, cable, and billboards. Todd Brewster, I'm with Media Buying Decisions.
Nobody for questions?
Oh my, I thought I was done. Okay.
Nice try, nice try.
Good try. Here we go. Questions?
Good job. You went through a lot of stuff there. So, in this market, what let's say, we're obviously very much into digital marketing and things like that in this particular group.
Of course.
If at what point in your evolution, let's say, of marketing, let's say you've gotten, we've worked and created a campaign, kind of understand a lot about your target audience and stuff. At what point do you see small businesses getting in? What would be like the entry point that somebody would say, okay, I'm ready to, whether it's radio advertising, billboard, whatever, and the first question is what point. The second question is where would you go first if you were branching out? Let's say you, as opposed to starting like old school in the non-digital media, we started in the digital media, and now we're ready to get some cross-channel traffic or whatever. What would you recommend?
Well, it all depends what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, who the target audience is. Now, I can say that people can go ahead and do things like billboard advertising that would be very effective for them for $1,000 a month,
Okay.
which would be great. But it'd have to be somebody that does like PI, things like that, where they're trying to get people that are going to respond due to a traffic accident.
Okay.
Somebody trying to build a brand, I wouldn't recommend that. I would go ahead and say, hey, to do it, you need to spend $3,000 a month. Radio, I get people going on for as little as $1,500 a month, usually about $2,000. And again, you're reaching a smaller audience, but it's an audience that would use this person's services. So again, the more money you spend, the better, but that's enough to get him started and see results. And then from those results, I hope to build from there and then get him to advertise more, because that's how I make my money. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't behoove me to go in and bring in somebody that's spending, say, $3,000 a month. If they come in and they only do it for 3 months, usually they try it out for 3 months. I make $450 a month. That's $1,350 total. I mean, the amount of time I put into it, I make like $2.87 an hour.
Right.
It doesn't help. Where I make my money is keeping clients for a long time. Where, as long as they're seeing results, they're going to come back, and then it's an easier buy. I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Now, like I said, I do go in and I try to find out what kind of response they're getting, and I will make my adjustments to that kind of response. An example there would be that I've had clients before that went after a male audience, and then, you know, they said, well, this is the one who comes in and makes the decision. Well, that was very true. They made the decision, but it was a woman who went ahead and said, you know what, we need this. We need, you know, you need to go in and do that. Now, the man would negotiate the buy at the end, and so that would be who he thought was the target audience, but he didn't realize the driving influence of the woman to go ahead and get everything moving and make, you know, set up the buy.
Okay. Good, it's helpful. Of course, women make all the decisions anyway.
You know, the older you get, the more
Very
you,
good at spending money.
the older you get, the more you find that to be true.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay?
Thanks, Todd.